Let's see what's out there.
Hello and welcome to Home Media Minefield presents Let's See What's Out There, a weekly video stream and podcast currently focused on Star Trek Picard Season 3, which is available to watch on Paramount Plus and Amazon Prime. My name's Keith Isles, and as ever I am joined by
Pete Mealy.
And we are both film and television enthusiasts. And in today's episode, we are going to have a spoiler-filled conversation around part 4 of season 3, titled No-Win Scenario. So spoiler warning for that. But if it's your first time here and you haven't visited this channel before, then first of all, welcome and thank you for stopping by to see what we're doing. If you find this in any way interesting whatsoever, please do consider giving us a thumbs up, giving us a like, subscribing to the channel, and if you hit the bell notification, you will get informed as and when new content drops. This channel is primarily about films and television. We discuss various movies and TV shows. We also look at physical media and streaming media and all sorts of things as well. So please do check it out and see if there's anything there of interest. Is much appreciated. But anyway, so Pete, we haven't spoken yet, and I've only just watched the episode. We are doing this a few days later than normal, and that's because I was in Glasgow at Fright Fest this year, so I didn't get to watch the film until I got back, and yeah, hot into it. So be interested to hear what you think, Pete.
I have thoughts.
You have thoughts. All right, fair enough. Well, I will just quickly put up, we do have a very loose, fun agenda that we stick to for this. So as I said, we will be doing spoilers with a very brief episode summary. We look at some of the behind the scenes. We talk about some of the Easter eggs and references just for a bit of fun. And then we go into our speculation and finally our thoughts and any nitpicks that we have on the show. And we rank it by rank pin rating. So yeah, well, without further ado, we shall get into it. So Pete, engage.
We start with a flashback to 5 years ago when a group of cadets interrupt Picard's lunch to ask him questions. Back on the Titan, the ship is falling into the gravity well and is just counting the minutes to death. Riker admits that Picard was right and they should have fought, but now we just need to make our peace and go with it. Picard tries to connect with Jack. Shaw and Seven try to find a way to save the day. Spoiler alert, they do, and they kill the changeling in the process. Meanwhile, on the Shrike, Vadic cuts off her hand to communicate with her bosses, who order her into the gravity well. Riker tries to record a message for Diana. Shaw admits that he's a survivor of the Battle of Wolf 359, and we see that Jack was also in that bar 5 years ago when the cadets were pestering Picard, and he asked Picard about family, to which Picard said Starfleet was the only family he ever needed. Darmok on the ocean. Beverly figures out that the nebula is giving birth and the Titan can ride the contractions out of the nebula, so they do, and fling an asteroid at the Shrike, disabling it as they escape. They find themselves out of the nebula, surrounded by space babies, marveling at the beauty and wonder, and we'll have to get back to business next week.
Very good. Lot to unpack there, but we're finally out of the nebula.
Yeah.
Which is good. Something that makes me laugh every week, because I just think, oh my God, it's almost as if they're doing this to annoy me. But every week we have a flashback at the beginning and then it says present day. And that always really bothers me, even though I completely know it's present day within the narrative. But still, it just makes me laugh every time.
This was the first time, I noticed it this time, and I was like, "Ooh, they did it again."
Yes, they've done it. I think they've done it every week so far. So, but it wouldn't be so weird if we hadn't had last season take place in the literal present day that we've got now.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm being really silly, so forgive me if you're watching and shouting at your device right now. I will get on with it. It's time to make it so. Alrighty, and this is the bit of the show where we give credit to people behind the camera. So this week's episode, the writing credits for this week's episode go to showrunner Terry Matalas and Sean Tretter as the main two writers on this. We have obviously covered their work in previous episodes, so I won't go over their credits again. And once again, this episode is directed by Jonathan Frakes, who needs little introduction, I think, to the Star Trek world. But I just wanted to point out this week the costume designer, because costume design, certainly from my point of view, is something that's very important to Star Trek and always has been right from the early days, particularly when we're looking and talking about uniforms and things of that nature. So I'm not sure if we've discussed Michael's credits before when we've covered some of the Marvel shows, possibly. But just to give you some background, he has worked in the costume department for going back into the early 2000s, where he was a costumer on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia and Glee. He was the key costumer. He was also a costume assistant on shows like American Sniper, Sleepy Hollow, Captain America Civil War, Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, and The Mule, as well as The Grey Man last year. So lots of work within that. In terms of actual costume designer, though, credits go back on that to a TV movie in 2007 called Nuclear Hurricane, the television series The Liar, Dante's Cove. Then this is why I think we may have talked about him before, because he was also the main costume designer on The Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Hawkeye before coming so on this season of Picard. So some really good credits there. And yeah, I mean, obviously the uniforms, as far as the Starfleet uniforms in this, are of course a carryover from previous seasons, but we got to see a little more of them in this episode. And something Pete, I think you picked up on a couple of episodes ago. You mentioned that you saw something that it was quick on screen, and it looked like an Enterprise style uniform with the chevrons, and it appears from what we're seeing that is actually the under tunic to the main uniform. So because our wonderful captain in this, Captain Shaw, when he's in his quarters, he has the jacket portion of the uniform off, and I don't know whether you noticed, but he had those that piping on his undershirt where his rank pins and stuff are. So I quite like the fact we got to see a little bit more of the uniforms in this episode, as well as older uniforms that the cadets were wearing that date back to the flashback scenes in season 1 of Picard. So yeah, cool.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
All right.
I noticed those cadet uniforms, and I was like, see, I like those uniforms.
Yeah. Very, very Voyager-esque.
Yeah.
But yes. Anyway, I've been doing a lot of talking, so I think I'm ready for a drink. So tea, Earl Grey, hot. All right, Pete. So I'm going to let you go first. If there's any particular Easter eggs, rather than the show being an Easter egg, but
no. I think I noticed 3, maybe 4 very specific ones.
Okay.
So the first or second flashback, Picard name drops an event that I don't think happened in Next Generation, right? I think it was a made-up event. But I feel like I recognize the name of that species, but I couldn't put it together. Maybe you know that one.
I'll let you carry on, and I'll come
Okay.
back. I've obviously put some
Great.
images together. So yeah.
Oh,
Carry on.
you're very smart. Okay. And then he does name drop, one of the absolute best episodes of Next Generation, Darmok, right? It was just called Darmok, right?
Yeah.
But then it's like the freight. It's the species that speaks only in what's it
Metaphor.
called? Metaphor, right?
Yeah.
Which is why I threw in our recap Darmok on the Ocean,
Yes.
which is the phrasing for loneliness. So I threw that in. Okay. Then when 7 of 9 is searching the dead guy's room, on his desk is the Vulcan pin game that Tuvok plays in Voyager and teaches Kess, right? Or does he teach Harry? I don't remember who he teaches.
Harry Kim.
Harry Kim.
Yeah.
I noticed that. And then maybe we'll talk about it later, but the changeling pot makes an appearance, which is also very similar to Odo's pot. Right, visually it looked similar.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I got.
Loads. Oh, well done.
Oh wait, I guess I mentioned it, but I forgot. Wolf 359.
Yes.
Is the Locutus of Borg episodes from Next Generation.
Yeah. Yes. No, absolutely. Well done. So most of these you've mentioned actually. So they mentioned the Herodian, which was a predator-like species that was in Star Trek Voyager, and they even name drop Captain Janeway there as well. As you know, did you ask for Captain Janeway's advice or whatever, or Admiral Janeway's advice? But I thought that was quite cool. And yes, I think it does refer to something. I don't know whether it's something that's happened in novels or any of the expanded universe, but yeah, I don't think it was something that happened on screen. But I do like the fact that they are sort of filling in some gaps and bringing established species and whatever into it. So yes, there was the Herodian. Also, as you've rightly said, Darmok was mentioned from that brilliant episode where Paul Winfield played Darmok, and they talk only in metaphors. So I thought that was great. One of the things that was also mentioned was Farpoint, because of the species, the jellyfish-like species, which obviously is similar to what we get at the end of this episode. And they actually name drop that. They say yes at Farpoint. You're absolutely right as well about the pot or the bucket that the changelings stay in. And I did like the sort of after goo. Oh no, residue. That was funny. And on the pad that 7 of 9 is looking at, they do actually have a picture of Odo on the screen on the pad as well, which I thought was quite a nice reference to Rene. Is it Aubergenois? I don't know how you pronounce it, but Rene.
Yeah, we need a French person on to pronounce that.
Yeah, who obviously was in Deep Space Nine and passed a couple of years ago, sadly. And also the other thing that I did like about that scene was, 7 of 9 was unaware of anything to do with the changelings, which when you think about it makes total sense, because the events of the Dominion War on Deep Space Nine take place while Voyager is in the Delta Quadrant trying to get home. So it kind of makes sense that 7 wouldn't have encountered change, because by that point they'd already gone back. And you're absolutely right as well when you mentioned the game, which I believe is called Calto, and it was a game that Tuvok was playing with Harry Kim in Voyager, which was quite nice. Also, I've got there Locutus of Borg, which of course gets mentioned with the Wolf 359 story from from Captain Shaw. One of the things I thought was quite interesting with that as well is it reminded me actually of the pilot episode Emissary of DS9, where Benjamin Sisko, when he meets Captain Picard, who's obviously guest starring in that episode, and he says that we've met in battle before at Wolf 359. So I thought that was quite similar there as well. And what else? That was really all I spotted, although I know 10 Forward is filled with Easter eggs. I did see a photograph in there of Picard in from like the movies, in the movie style uniform, and I think there was a picture of Guinan as well. And then of course the name of this episode, No Win Scenario, is of course, I guess a subtle reference to Kobayashi Maru and the no-win scenario that has. Obviously Metalis 4 gets a message, gets a mention by Jack Crusher. Yeah. But I'm sure there's other things in there. I'm kind of interested as to whether there's any 12 Monkeys references in this episode, because I know that Terry Metalis tries to throw those in there, and I do need to check the 12 Monkeys series out. I did start watching it years back, and then I lost track of it. So because I love the movie, so it'll be interesting. But
the movie is great. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, I think that's it. Do you see any lights at the moment, Pete?
Not on the bridge of the Triton, I'll tell you that. There are no lights.
I've tried to match it.
Yeah.
I tried to match it.
Also, no lights in 10 Forward. That's what I wanted to say. I can't believe you picked anything up in the background, because there are no lights in this episode except for the light that is blocking the pot. Okay.
Indeed. But one thing as well that I did notice, which I think, again, I'm not sure, but I think might be a sort of Easter egg, when Picard explains to Jack about the fact that the holodecks don't draw power from the main systems. I believe that was the same excuse that they used in Voyager very early on, because they were obviously, they still had holodeck episodes of Voyager, even though they were a ship that was lost in space and needed all their resources to get back to Earth and whatever. So I think there was some sort of techno babble in one of those episodes that explained quite similar to what Picard said. So
okay.
So how many lights are there, Pete?
There are 4 lights.
All right. Any wild theories or speculation on where this is going now that we're out of the nebula?
Okay, so I saw a crazy one online.
Oh, what do you mean? We're not supposed to look at other theories.
It was not intentional, right? But as I was scrolling around, I saw one, and it is so stuck in my head.
Okay. Do you want to share it?
If it's okay with you, I can't credit because I don't remember who it was or where I saw it, but it is so stuck in my head. And it is that Vedic.
Yeah.
Evil Captain.
Yeah. I think it's Vadic.
Vadic.
Yeah.
Is a Breen.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Because we never saw them, did we?
We never saw them, and there's apparently references to them being able to shapeshift, and such like that. And they were aligned with the Dominion in Deep Space Nine. And so I saw that, and I kind of really liked that thinking, as opposed to that she's just another changeling, right? Or what's the founder? Founder is the word.
Well, I mean that thing with her hand and the message and whatever was a bit weird, wasn't it? So that
It
could
was.
potentially explain some of that as well, because
Yeah.
well, that's certainly not something we've seen before, is it? So
No.
here's a question: do the changelings? I mean, obviously, I know that they use, in this episode, about catching a changeling out, and whatever, but I don't know whether they do changelings take the memories of their of if they've imitated someone. I don't think so. I
don't think so either.
I don't know, because I've got kind of again a bit of a bizarre theory, but then it sort of contradicts the emotional heart of this episode. So I'm like, yeah, but they wouldn't have, if what I'm thinking is something, then they wouldn't have done that. Basically, my thing is around, obviously we've got this mystery set up with Jack Crusher, and we see this sort of red lights and the door and the branches, and there's even a female voice that whispers right at the end of the episode something to him, and all of this, and I was kind of like, but obviously we have that bit which flashes back to 10 Forward, when he was only 18 and he was there, and he asked, when the cadets were asking Picard all the questions, he asked about the family thing, and Picard says, Starfleet is the only family I need, or whatever. So this kind of takes away from something that was going through my head, but the point of the speculation is it's exactly that. It doesn't need to be accurate, right? So I'll say it. So bear with me here. So I have a little bit of a fixation on age, and Picard actually, I did love the scene when he said about the elephant in the room, about the hair, losing the hair and everything. But Picard says, so what are you, 23, 24, something like that? And Jack just nods and doesn't actually correct him or say anything specific there, right? And I don't know, it just made me think, is Jack who we think he is? Bearing in mind that Vadic's whole thing is trying to get Jack, right? That's been the whole point of this cat and mouse. He's obviously having these weird flashes and dreams and stuff, and it sort of sent me down a rabbit warren where I'm thinking, is Beverly actually Beverly, or is this a changeling, and their whole thing is to try and infiltrate? But then that obviously doesn't make sense, because we had the saboteur, which Jack sniffed out the saboteur. So I don't know. It was just one thing, the way that he kind of didn't really correct Picard. And again, I think I'm maybe obsessing, because I'm trying to make it fit into because I'm thinking, well, this must have happened before Nemesis then, and all of that sort of thing, and it sent me down that, which I'm probably overthinking it, to be perfectly honest. But I don't know. There is obviously something going on with Jack, but
there's something going on with Jack, which is why everyone wants him. One, I will tell you, I had the exact same thought for like half a second when I was watching this episode. Oh, I bet you Jack's not actually Picard's son, right? But then I was like, well, then they're really spending a lot of time building up this like weird family relationship that then they're just going to nullify at the end. And so I was like, there's no way they're going to do that. But now that I actually say it out loud, I would not put it past them doing that. So I wouldn't be surprised if, Jack Crusher is, maybe Jack Crusher's the Breen. Ooh, yeah, something, right?
Well, as I said, I'm a bit torn by it, because on one hand, I realize we're sort of taking away the whole emotional heart of this story, which there is a lot between him and what's going on with Riker and all of this sort of thing.
But that is par for the course with Star Trek Picard.
Yeah. Yeah,
building up an emotional heart and then throwing it away.
No, I just wondered whether obviously there's something going on there, but I'm trying to figure out what it is, and I was trying to think, well, what makes sense? I mean, obviously now I'm saying it out loud. Beverly being a changeling makes no sense because she knows too much about specific things, so that doesn't really work. And the reason I don't think it works with Jack, the more I think about it, is the fact that they show that flashback scene with Jack at 10 forward, going out to get to know his dad. So that's weird. So unless it's some kind of virus or something, I mean, this thing that Vadik has, with the maybe he's possessed by a spirit of that or something, because again, it's something we've not seen, isn't it?
Yeah.
It
could be one of the prophets or something, right?
Yeah, well, there you go. Again, we're doing a lot of referencing back to Deep Space Nine. So maybe I did for a second think, and I'm being facetious. So if anybody out there is listening or watching this, please don't start writing in, because I'm kidding here. But one of the things I did think was, obviously everything we're seeing is red, and we hear a woman's voice say "come to me" or whatever at the end, right? And I thought to myself, oh, wouldn't it be ironic for all the Michael Burnham haters if it's to do with the Red Angel and it's all about Michael Burnham? I'm joking. That is a joke, by the way.
No, that is wonderful, and that should absolutely be what it is. Yeah.
The truth is, I have no idea, but that's what I'm liking about it. Because I have no idea.
Yeah.
And any other theories, or shall we draw a line?
No, let's draw a line.
Okay, the line must be drawn here. So then, this is the bit where we really get into the conversation now with our thoughts on this episode. Good or bad, any nitpicks, etc. So, Pete,
I'll start with a nitpick.
Go on.
The pot conversation.
Yes.
I'm wondering how you feel about that, based on your, what's it called? History of not enjoying curse words on Star Trek, right?
Well, we get that as well.
Yeah. What did you think? Like, for the pot conversation, I don't know. It just felt wrong to me in some sort of way. Yeah.
It felt weirdly contemporary. I'll give it that, like it was a laugh thing. But
yeah.
But then again, to defend it, 7 of 9 is always kind of exploring more stuff about humanity, right? And I wasn't, put it this way, I was less bothered by that. That kind of made me chuckle actually a little bit, because again, it's Captain Shaw, who I find quite funny, I have to say, although he gets very serious in this episode, of course. But I was more, the bit that grated more with me was Picard dropping the F-bomb. I'm like, really? And apparently I've heard somewhere that was actually an ad lib, and I think, well, they should have cut it out, or they should have made him do it again, Yeah, I don't know. We've talked about this in a lot, haven't we? And it's been that whole thing. Just because they can doesn't mean they should. And obviously it contradicts things that were said in Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, and all of that sort of stuff. So it kind of, the pot one annoyed me less than the F-bomb from Picard. Put it that way. What about you?
Yeah. No, the F-bombs don't really bother me, but that's because I'm from New York. So I guess, right? Like, it doesn't sound like you're speaking if you're not dropping a couple.
Oh, no. I mean, anything contemporary, fine, but it's not Star Trek. I don't know.
I know. Yeah. It's just, fact, I guess what I'm saying is that I tune them out.
I was kicking myself earlier this week. We did our quick little plug for our sister episode, which is the Mandalorian, which is on season 3 at the moment. And basically, Graham, who's my co-host, sort of said about that there was a bit that was almost like the spider head from John Carpenter's The Thing. And I said, "Oh, is Bo-Katan going to turn around and say, 'You've got to be effing kidding me'?" Yeah, but I realized what I should have said is she should have said, "You've got to be fracking kidding me," right?
Yeah, that would have been perfect.
Oh, I was so annoyed with myself when I thought of it afterwards. I was like, "Damn it, it's Katie Sackhoff. Of course, it's going to be fracking."
Fracking, yeah.
But yeah. But no, yeah, whatever. That is a minor nitpick anyway. So I didn't have too much problem with that. And it's New Trek. New Trek seems to be okay with that anyway, right?
Yeah, New Trek is okay with curse. Let's talk about Shaw for a minute.
Yes.
I still I think that he's got a great character that they are just, for some reason, insist on doing terrible things to and not writing for him correctly and setting up the whole show for him to be a terrible human being when he's not. Like, in the first 2 episodes, he is, the bad guy because he wants to follow the rules, which doesn't make sense to me. And then at the end of the second episode, he resigns his captaincy because of a leg injury that then doesn't seem to be hampering him that much, right? But he still, would rather sit in his room and play guitar, which I was like, this is, I don't understand that choice for the character. He's literally, putting his fingers in his ears and going, "Go away, go away, go away." Which I just feel like I don't understand that choice in the writing for him. I understand if you want to make him gruff and difficult. And it makes a lot of sense that a lot of that stems from the battle at Wolf 359, right? But it still feels like they're just doing it wrong. I don't know how else to say it. Like, this feels like first draft character development, and they should have done another pass at it.
Okay. No, I mean, I find him, as I said, I find him quite amusing. Like, I did like the bit when he goes, "Officially, no," and she goes, "What about unofficially?" And he goes, "No." And when he does the the heart thing, and he goes, "See, that would be me as a changeling, as opposed to," and she goes, "a dick," and he's like, "Yeah, exactly," and all that. But
here's the thing: is like the only thing that he's done to be a dick is follow the rules, right? Like, I don't know. It just feels really weird.
Okay, yeah. I mean, this episode does explain a lot of why he's the way he is with Picard. Because he would have been quite a young engineer at that point, a grease monkey, as he's put it. Which, again, I don't know whether that's something to do with 12 monkeys. Don't know, a grease monkey. But yeah, he was an engineer on that. He mentions the ship, doesn't he? Is it the Constance? The USS Constance, I think he said.
I don't know.
And obviously he was one of the few to get away. I can kind of see how that is. I don't know. I thought that gave him a bit more character. It's interesting. I'm not disagreeing with you as such, but at the same time, I don't think I'm as.
It's working for you more than it's working for me.
I think it is. I am glad that we're now out of the nebula. I will say that. I don't know. I mean, the kind of the dramatic climax of the previous episode with Riker telling Picard to clear the bridge and saying you've just killed us all, and then they kind of
instantly
have the
walk it
conversation.
back.
Yeah, although I will say that I thought particularly Jonathan Frakes, his acting in that part was the best I've ever seen him do, I think. Did you feel that? When he was saying about the fact that he is kind of, since his son, he is sort of playing it safe, and he's given his reason why he came on this mission and sort of left Deanna behind and all of that sort of stuff. I was okay with all of that, actually. I thought the writing and the performance there was actually quite good for that part.
Yeah, as a standalone, I think it's fine. It gets murky for me when you try to pair that with Riker from season 1,
Right.
who behaved very differently.
Yeah, but that was 40 years ago, right?
No. Season 1 of Picard, not.
Oh,
season
season 1 of Picard. Sorry, I thought you meant
no.
1 of Next Gen. But yeah, okay.
No. Picard, Riker from season 1 of Picard is all
Yeah.
like, I went through this tragedy, but I'm making pizza now. I'm starting to feel better. Like, I'm hanging out in the wood planet. We're making it groovy, peace, love, joy, right? I can't go back on a ship because, I can't go back to service. And then in season 3, it's like, I got to run away from peace, love, joy and just do service. And it's like, what changed? Like, that is quite a change. And here they're sort of trying to say, like, well, the problem was that his son died. And I was like, but you were already processing that.
That was 20 years ago. Yeah. Well, actually,
a year ago, you were processing it.
Yeah, sorry, it wasn't 20 years ago. He was born 20 years ago. Sorry, but it was 5 years ago, whatever it was. Yeah,
whatever it was, right? So I don't know. I just didn't really like that.
Okay.
I get it. I thought it was fine. It wasn't awful, but again, it just the way I wrote it in my notes is like, just something's been feeling off about the pacing and about the characters. It's not quite clicking for me.
Okay.
I think that there's a lot of good stuff in it, so this isn't the disaster I've seen before, but it's not firing on all cylinders for me.
Okay. What about, I mean, did you feel that this whole episode was based on the Titan? So we never got the Raffi and Worf show this week. Were you missing that?
100%.
Yeah. I'd agree.
100%.
I'd agree.
Like the Raffi and Worf stuff was the best parts of episode 2. Is that right? No.
Yeah.
Episode
3.
What did we watch? We watched episode 4 this time.
This is 4. Yeah.
This is 4. Yeah. So it was the best parts of 3, and then here we are in 4, and we get none of it. I was bummed, but sure, right? I do think, again, like, you've got 45 minutes of great episode content in the last 3 episodes. And so with just a little bit of editing, we could have had 2 more episodes to do more fun stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yes. I did like the bit where, even though I completely saw it coming, but the bit where LaForge comes to engineering and Seven uses because again, that was good foreshadowing. We've had her refer to her as Commander 7 previously in previous episodes, so that was good that it was the thing that caught her out.
I did like that. What I didn't like was that the changeling kept her body when it was all the way dead.
Oh, right. Yeah, it didn't just dissolve, no?
It didn't dissolve into a pile of ash like other changelings have when they've died.
Interesting. Okay, yeah. Yeah. I like that stuff. I liked one of the things I really liked, I've got to say what I really liked, was I did like it when they were all kind of arguing about how they were going to get out of this no-win scenario, and then when they, like the story Picard's telling the cadets, when everybody, which is pure Star Trek to me, when all of them work together as a team and they all bring their individual skill sets,
Yeah.
They get out, and that was great. I mean, it was a little bit of a switch though, because one minute, you've got Riker really taking some convincing, and then the next minute he's adding to it. But
I still like that part.
That to me is the spirit of Star Trek. I've got to absolutely say that. You see, the other thing that keeps with me, and it's really bugging me, is this thing with Jack Crusher at the end and the voice saying "Find me," the woman's voice, and part of me thinks, is that it made me think, is that Beverly saying "Come and find her"? But if it is, it doesn't make sense, because Beverly's referencing all of the things that have happened in the past, so it wouldn't make sense for her to be a changeling, would it? So
No.
I'm kind of, my own speculation is really not working out. So it's kind of, the more that's part of the point of this show, right, is to talk through it. And
talk through it.
Yeah. But yeah, and have you got any thoughts as to what's going on with Vadik, apart from she's a Breen? That's quite interesting. But that whole hand cutting off communication thing was super weird.
It was weird. I didn't hate it, to be honest. I thought it was.
I didn't hate it, but no.
I do think we're still dealing with what's it called? A bit of, we haven't settled on what they were actually trying to steal from the Daystrom Institute.
Right? Well, actually, that is something you see. When she they eject something, don't they, before they go in for attack, and it says Daystrom Institute, whatever it was she ejects.
It was I thought it was the transportation weapon.
Yeah, maybe it was. And so we don't know what other things then they've had.
Right. And so I thought that was just like more proof that the transportation weapon was the red herring and not what they were actually trying to get. And so, I think we talked about it last week.
You see, I can't stop thinking about this. What's so key about Jack Crusher that they're not just outright destroying the Titan? And that dream thing. I mean, this is the point of it, isn't it? Is to make us wonder and want to see more. But just trying to process. I've only watched it the once, so I'm just trying to sort of process it. But interesting,
right?
That's good. Any other thoughts or nitpicks or just general comments?
Nope, that's what I have.
I'm sad that you're not actually enjoying this as much as I am.
I do need to be honest. I'm enjoying it much more than I enjoyed season 2.
Well, that's not saying a lot, is it?
It's not saying a lot. But
that was one thing that was interesting. So Captain Shaw says that the Borg is still out there. So is that kind of retconning what season 2 did with the whole Borg thing?
No, I thought what season 2 did was say that the Borg just sort of stopped and they don't know why.
Right.
But there still might be a lot of Borg in the Delta Quadrant somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, God only knows what we're going to see in the rest of this. Are we going to see the Borg? Don't know.
Don't know.
We've still got, there's still a lot of crew members that we're yet to see, isn't there? I know we saw Deanna in this one via message.
Deanna's had a very brief showing. I'm still waiting for LaForge.
Yes. Well, we know that's coming for sure. We know that's
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what are we? Are we a third of the way through now?
More. We're almost half, right? It's 10 episodes.
Oh, is it only 10? Yeah. So we're halfway through then, or just no, we're 40%.
40%.
Yeah. Okay. So there's still quite a bit. Still quite a bit that will happen and can happen. I noticed this episode was longer as well. This was more around the sort of 50-minute mark, which is good.
Yeah. Well, and I do have to say, could have been 40, could have been 45.
Right.
You're not going to lose that much. Anyway.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Are we missing anything? Obviously, we've talked about Picard's story with the cadets. Obviously, because it was less de-aging needed, as it was only 5 years ago, it was a bit more convincing in this episode than in the previous one.
But you notice what he's eating, right?
Fish and chips.
Fish and chips, like any good Frenchman would.
Yeah. Yes, you're a Frenchman that grew up in the UK. Yeah. No. I mean that was fine. Yeah, it's really. I mean, it's good. This has really got me thinking about the whole Jack thing, because it has to be. Yeah, it has to be something more than him just being a changeling, because otherwise, all that backstory stuff is for
no.
nothing.
It's going to do with whatever they stole from the Daystrom Institute.
Yes.
And I bet we could figure out what it is if we, or let me say this. I really hope it's going to be something from the past of the show and not just, the Deus Ex Machina or red shirt thing out of the box, right? Like, especially because this is a Dominion War callback, there's so much from Deep Space Nine they could draw on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, agreed. I'm just trying to think if we missed anything, but I don't think we have. So,
I touched on all my points. Yeah.
Okay. So where would you rank this one?
I think
this makes me realize I really need to keep a note of what I'm ranking, because I've totally forgotten. But yes,
I think I ranked last episode of Lieutenant.
Yeah.
And you know what? For all of my nitpicks and annoyances, I am going to give this a Lieutenant Commander.
Okay.
I thought there was a lot of really solid Star Trek in this, that like it's what I like to see in Star Trek. It's why I tune in. It's the type of stories, it's the type of goals. And there was also a lot of action and subterfuge. I do think that the whole engineering section was great with Shaw and Seven of Nine, and then the Changeling coming in. Like, there was just a lot of tension and it just worked. So even though there's a lot I don't like, there's a lot in this episode that was working. And so hopefully it just gets better. Lieutenant Commander.
Okay. Well, I'm also going to go Lieutenant Commander on this one as well.
Look at that.
So, I'm, as I said, I'm genuinely quite liking it. I feel that we've kind of had the first act. That's what it feels like now. Now they're out of the nebula. That's the first act. And it's seeing where they go from there over the next 6 episodes. So, excited about it. But and yeah, but you know, if there are any viewers or listeners out there, my thing about Michael Burnham and the Red Angel is a total joke. Okay, I don't
it's
for
coming.
1 minute.
It's coming.
I was just
yeah, no, here, throw this wild prediction in the mix, right? At the end of Picard season 3, they're going to throw Jack Crusher forward to the 32nd century. And then even though Discovery is canceled, they're going to start a new Star Trek series just called Crusher. And it's going to be him in the 32nd century. Yeah.
There you go. Sounds good. So have you got anything else to add then, Pete?
No, I think we can wrap it up.
Okay, so let's open a channel. All right, Pete. So where can people get in touch?
I still have a Twitter account at Too Many E's. If you're listening to the podcast or you're interested in the podcast, please do find us LSWOT Cast on all social media apps or lswotcast@gmail.com. Keith, you want to tell people where people can find more of you and your work?
Yeah, well, if you are watching this on YouTube, you've already found the channel Home Media Minefield. If you're listening on the podcast, please check out Home Media Minefield on YouTube. Check out some of our other work on this channel. You can get in touch at Home Media Minefield on social media, as well as LSWOT Cast, as Pete's already mentioned. I also do have another channel, which is British Isles. That's EYLES, as in my last name. And there's some short films, etc., that I've made on there. I also mentioned earlier as well, we do have another stream going simultaneously with this on the same channel, which is looking at Star Wars The Mandalorian. So yeah, please check that out as well. And I've also got some physical media reviews of the Star Trek movies. So yeah, it's all there. But that just leaves me to say thank you, Pete, once again for joining us on the trip. And thank you for watching. As I said, please do consider liking, subscribing, all of that stuff. Put a comment down below if you've got any ideas. And we will see you next time on
Let's See What's Out There.
Bye for now.